Carlisle wants to veer off and share something else, that'll be great. I thought this was important because typically with practice, I mean, the coaches, we're giving you some stuff on mental, and we're trying to say, you know, be more positive there, you got the next shot. But we really work on, in practice, the physical side, and we get you guys ready with the physical side, conditioning and plays. But mental, gotta be at least 50%. Maybe Mr. Carlisle will share some other side. It's gotta be like 50% of your game. The confidence you have, the negativity or whatever, how you respond to that, how you respond to even injury. We got some guys who are injured. I mean, that all plays into this. So I thought Mr. Carlisle would be great because he spent over 15 years playing professional baseball. Some of the teams he played for, San Diego, the Padres, the Mets, Atlanta Braves. I think there were a couple other teams scattered in there. He is a native of Nebraska, and I got to know him and his family because my daughter Karis played basketball for a couple summers, 3 years ago, I think, and with his daughter, and so got to talk with both Buddy and his wife. He's got a son that just graduated from A&M. I think we got some A&M fans. No? We got one. Well, are you the only A&M fan?
I guess.
His son Carter graduated from A&M, and his daughter is at Utah Valley University in Utah, playing basketball there at one level. So Mr. Carlisle is a wealth of information. He wants you guys to be thinking of questions you can ask him. And again, I asked him to come and speak on the mental, but if there's something else there, because one more thing before we give it over to Buddy is not only has he played it and experienced it, but he's done refereeing, he's also done coaching. He's currently coaching in the Tampa Bay baseball system for the Rays. When did you guys switch your name from the Devil Rays to the Rays?
Before I was with the Eagles.
Oh, okay. So he's done it all from different angles of sports, from coaching to reffing to anything. So without further ado, give a big round of applause to Buddy Carlisle.
I'd rather you guys ask me a lot of questions because I've been in your seats a lot, and I know, like, sitting there listening to somebody ramble on for 20 minutes is not what you guys want to do. But I'll just give you, like, thanks for the introduction. I'll give you, like, a little brief history because some of you guys are like, why is the guy that reffed my game last week in the fall league coming to talk to us right now, right? So I'll tell you exactly why I started reffing, though. So I am a baseball guy. I got drafted out of high school and played for 21 years. Parts of 13 organizations, big leagues, Padres, Mets, said Yankees, Dodgers. I played for the Dodgers briefly. I got to play with Derek Jeter, Mark Teixeira, and Alex Rodriguez. Played with those guys and then with the Yankees. I played with Andrew Jones, John Smoltz, Tim Hudson, those guys with the Braves. Got to experience a lot of really cool athletes, but my career was not. You see guys on TV, and there's a lot of guys that make money, but that wasn't my career. My career was a grind, and I'm very fortunate for the career I had. I haven't talked to a group of kids in a while, but I've used this as an example in the past. It took me 21 years to get 5 total years of service time. When I say service time in the big leagues, it means a big thing because it goes into our pension and all that. So like every day that you're in the major leagues, you accumulate time. And so if you play for a quarter of a year, that's a quarter of a year. It took me 21 seasons to get 5 total seasons in the major leagues. When you talk about the mental side, it might be 50% here, but I guarantee at that level, once you get to that level, it's probably 99% mental, to be honest. Like people's talent levels are so similar when you're talking about you're trying to compete and make teams against the best players not only in our country, but now it's the entire world. So I challenge our kids sometimes to go look at guys, go to a little league and see how many people are playing baseball and how many kids would dream to be in your shoes right now. And now think about how many little league fields are all across the state, and then all across this country, then all across this world, to really realize kind of where you're at in your career and what it's going to take to go to that next level. So baseball's my background, but basketball is my love, without a doubt. There's zero doubt. So all my years of playing professional baseball, I would come back home, and I don't know if you even know this. Jessica, my wife, was a varsity girls basketball coach for 15 years, and I was her assistant coach for about 8 of those years. So I would come back, in the off season for baseball and coach JV girls and be her assistant on the bench. So she would tell me to shut up all the time on the bench when I'd come up with a new play or something like that. But the reason I wanted to start reffing is I coached JV girls and I saw some of the refs that were in it for a paycheck. And I knew that some of our girls had worked so hard for this moment, and I knew that they were trying to cash it in so they could go home. And I also realized that there's some girls and there's some people, when you get a free throw late in a game, there's some people on this team who might play 2 or 3 minutes, right? Maybe you play 5 minutes the whole year. But if you get fouled with 30 seconds to go and your grandma's in the stands, by gosh, you're going to shoot that free throw if you get fouled. So that's the biggest reason why I got into reffing. I really love the sport so much. It gets my competitive juices flowing. And also I want to challenge myself. I'm almost 50 years old to try to get good at something that I'm not good at yet. And so that's the biggest reason I'm reffing now. This will be my 3rd year, and I did a handful of varsity games last year in the Austin area, and this year hoping to do more, but whatever they end up giving me. My current job, so after baseball, I worked with the Braves in the big leagues as a coach, and then I went to the Angels, and I was in charge of all the minor league pitchers with the Angels. So basically now I'm with the Rays in the same job, and I have 100 pitchers and 10 coaches that I'm in charge of. And my job is to take these players when they get drafted or when we sign them in Latin American countries at 16 and put together their development plan and how are they going to get to major leagues. So I see every aspect of why guys make it and why guys don't. And I can tell you the #1 reason why guys don't make it to the big leagues is because everybody thinks their careers are going to be very linear. Do you know what I mean by that? It's like, hey, I got drafted. Okay, the next year I'm going to go to A-ball. Okay, next year I'm going to go to the higher A-ball. Next year I'm going to go to AA, then AAA, the big leagues. In theory, that sounds like a good system, right? But it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way for you guys either, in sports or in school or anything. What's going to happen is you're going to come here, they're going to have this, they're going to have some success, and they're going to have this gargantuous drop. And then they're going to have some success, and then they're going to have this huge failure. And 100% of the time, the guys that can make it to the ultimate level, that's why they get paid so much money, because it is really hard to get there, really hard. But the guys that make it, when they go down here, are the ones that can handle it, and the ones that fight. Who can fight through that to have that climb again? But I've seen it so many times when this tank happens, where they have a little bit of struggle and adversity, because we all know true character comes out when you get hit in the face, right? Like, we're all good people until someone smacks us in the mouth, and now we're down 20-0. Now the true character comes out. What kind of person is going to come out in that situation? So in this situation, what kind of person is going to come out? And the guys that really, really struggle, and then their careers are over, are the ones that tank in this right here, because they don't know how to fight. Are you going to work harder, or are you going to say, poor me? Because nobody really cares at the end of the day in sports. When you get down here, you say poor me, and you're like, oh, the ref, the coach, the situation. There's a million of those variables. No, I can promise you, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Are you going to fight through that, or are you going to tank down there and that's where you're going to stay and your career is over, or are you going to fight through it and give yourself a chance? So it's a great point you brought up, because honestly, that's in my world that I live now with my guys. The fight and those moments of failure are what's going to separate guys. And I bring that up because in my career, it's kind of hard to explain, but you go to spring training, there's 50 people there, we're fighting for a job, and then maybe you break with the team, maybe you don't, but then you go to the season, and then you're pitching, and then one day they say, hey, manager needs to see you in the office. And they bring you in and like, hey, we're sending you back to the minor leagues. That's a terrible feeling, honestly, for a lot of reasons. Because one, you want to be in the major leagues. Two, financially, when you have a family, the difference in pay, there's no other profession where you're almost even, but all of a sudden your pay gets cut like 5,000%. But that happened to me 25 times in my career. I honestly don't know if anybody else has been in that situation ever in pro ball too. I also had two stretches in the major leagues where I went over 7.5 years in between major league wins. So if you think about that, I was in the major leagues, I didn't get another win for 7.5 years. I was in the major leagues, and I went another stretch where that's 7.5 years between those 2 wins. So you're talking 15 years in between 2 wins just to get those 2 wins in the major leagues. But 25 times I was basically told I wasn't good enough. And so that hurts, right? The first time it hurt really bad. I thought I was going to throw up, my stomach hurt. Then after that, you start becoming kind of more used to it. It's more professional. It's like every time I'd be like, hey, thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to work hard. I'll be back. And you have a choice to make at that moment. Are you going to go work, or are you going to feel sorry for yourself? And in our world, once you feel sorry for yourself, you are done. I work for a lot of guys right now that are at that AAA level. They're really close. They're on the cusp, and they get sent down from the major leagues, and they want to have that attitude. And with me, they're barking up the wrong tree because I lived that life my whole career. So I give them like 12 hours. You 12 hours, feel sorry for yourself. After that, it's time to work. If you want to work, they'll give you a chance to get back there. If you don't want to work, that's probably going to be it. I mean, I can ramble on about that kind of stuff all day, but
that's good because that's life. That's not just sport.
Yeah, because our life, our sports are our life, right? Like we're trying to. It's a very cutthroat world. Even my job as a coach right now, like if we don't win in major leagues, if our major league team doesn't win, they're going to make changes. So, kind of what I do right now is I work on the computer all day. I talk to my guys, we program guys off seasons, and then I go ref in the afternoon. But one thing that's important, whether it be school and you guys are young enough now where I don't think this defines you, but just make sure your identity, like you all have different reasons for your identity, who you are, your family, your beliefs, all those things, but your success out here, your success in the classroom, that's not your identity. Just make sure that because once you get those things intertwined, especially for our professional players, once your identity comes with success, like I'm a good baseball player, that's your identity. Unfortunately, that's going to come to a screeching halt someday, and you're going to be probably one of the saddest people I know. Probably some of the most unhappy people I've ever met are some of the superstars that you guys know. I promise you, because their identity was who they were as a baseball player, and once that becomes your identity, I promise you, it's going to let you down every single time. Because we can only do this for so long.
All right, guys, any questions? You kind of left a broad swath.
Really broad, yeah.
You guys have any questions?
While they're thinking of a question for it, what about some things like in-game setbacks? I know you talked a little about big picture life, but what about like on the court, an example or two from your experience where you were frustrated, how did you bounce back in-game?
And that's a great point because the best players are able to make those adjustments right away rather than in our world as a pitcher, it's okay, I gave up a couple base hits, I might have walked a guy, can I limit this to 1 run? And now we're down 1-0, or is this going to turn into 3 or 4, and now we're down 4-0, and I'm pulled from the game. So a lot of it's recentering yourself, and I mean, you said it right before, like the next play, the next shot, but it literally is that simple sometimes. You have to focus on what am I doing right now? Because at the end of the day, I ref your guys' age, I ref younger. Nobody cares that you missed the shot. Nobody cares. So save all the body language of, oh my God, I can't believe I missed it. When you're acting that way, you're acting like you make every single shot you take, and it actually looks ridiculous. And I'm not pointing any of you guys out, I promise you, but I've watched this age, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've seen it where it's like, oh, I missed a free throw, and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Nobody cares. Move on to the next thing. What's your next? If you miss a free throw, what's your next thing you're supposed to be doing? What do you think? Exactly. What do you play defense, right? Create a turnover. The best players on a basketball court, I can promise you, are not the ones that score the most points. Think about how can I make my teammates better? What can I do? The superstars in any sport aren't the ones that are just the best at putting up stats. They're the ones that make their teammates better. Who's the guy that's on the backside when they know the ball's being swung that's sealing the weak side defender so your teammate can get a 3-point shot? They're probably 80% of the people in the stands don't even notice. I guarantee your coaches do, and I guarantee the 20% of the stands that really understand basketball don't even think about the shot. They're like, did you see the weak side seal to get that shot open? Those are the little things that make your teams better, and those are the little things that superstars do because they make their teammates better. The best players make their teammates better. So think about that every day. What am I going to do to make the people I'm around better? Not what can I do for myself? Because once you take that off of yourself, it's like, you can really just be like, you can breathe because now all the pressure's not on you. Your pressure is literally, what can I do for my teammates? Once you take the pressure off of yourself, the game gets like, I'm gonna use my daughter for an example in this situation. Tim knows my daughter, I can talk about her. She was the first team All-Stater in 5A in both publications. She was arguably one of the best players in the state of Texas her senior year. When she would play against a team, and I hate to say it, anybody that's here, like Leander or Rouse, and she went into these games with an expectation because the thought wasn't, they knew they were gonna win by 50. They already knew that. She went to Cedar Park. They knew they were going to win by 50. when she went into these games with an expectation of, well, this is a game I can score, blah, blah, blah. Y'all, that was the worst she ever played every single time. When they went to the state tournament, or they were playing games and it was all about the scoreboard, and she was literally not thinking about anything personal, but she was thinking about, what am I gonna do to how are we winning this game? If it means I have to take this shot, or it means I have to fly in and get this offensive rebound and kick it back out to our three-point shooter, because it's whatever it takes to win the game. And then you get done and you look at the stat line, you're like, holy cow, right? Literally no thought on herself, but literally, what am I gonna do to win this game for my team? So it's just funny, I can say that about her now because she's a sophomore in college, but those games where they played like the teams they knew they were gonna beat were probably the worst games she played ever. Think about the scoreboard at all times. Don't think about yourself. Wow, dude, I'm not dumb. I played basketball too. You miss your first 3 shots. You're like, man, I'm 0 for 3. If I make this one, I'm 0 for 4. As a pitcher, we used to do it. This is when I got in the most trouble. Because as a starting pitcher, you might give up 2 runs in the first, right? And you're like, well, if I go 6 innings, it's 2 runs. My ERA is this. And then it doesn't work. Once you concentrate on what am I going to do to help my team win, your stats will take care of themselves. And honestly, at the end of the day, I started looking at, and I'm not saying you guys are thriving to be in divisional basketball. This isn't for that, but it's kind of an analogy for everything else. It's kind of a weird habit of mine. I like looking at the teams my daughter's playing in college and going to look at their high school bios. I don't know why, it's just fascinating to me. Because you think you're playing, like they play Loyola Marymount next week, I'm going to fly out there. You think like the girls in California that are at Loyola Marymount, like are all the girls that are averaging like 38 points a game. It doesn't work like that. You look at almost every D1 girls roster, and it's like she was on the 2-time state championship team, averaged 9 points, 7 rebounds. You're like, 9 points, 7 rebounds? Because colleges don't give a rat's butt about your stats. They can watch you play for 2 minutes and know if you're a player for them or not. Because your stats are irrelevant. If you can take 40 shots and score 35 points a game, or you can take 10 shots and score 10 points a game and make your whole team better, and that's who they want. So it's just really funny when I look at the stat lines of these girls, and I'm like, she didn't even average double digits in high school, and she's starting a 4-year starter at a D1 program, you know, and it happens like that all the time. One thing I'll say, and this is going to sound really, really, really corny, and I still say it to my daughter to this day, but it's so true, and I use this with my guys all the time. All you can do is prepare. If you did all the preparation you can, this goes for your test taking too, right? Like if you literally know, like, I prepared as much as I humanly can, all you can do is your best anyway. You can't do more than your best. What's gonna happen is gonna happen. So we try to tell our guys, if you can take that off of you and realize, I prepared. Unfortunately, I'm not playing against air. There's other people playing against me, so they might have a really good day. You can't do more than your best. Take that off you. The only thing you can control are your effort, your attitude. All the time. Effort, attitude. If you keep reminding yourself, how's my effort, how's my attitude, don't worry about anything else.
Okay, you guys talk all the time. Oh, okay, Cole has a question.
That's a great. I probably went and I'm going to use a kind of a weird example. So when I was 30, I'd been in the minor leagues for a long, long time. I got up when I was 21, so I was like, I got this. I'm 21 years old. I'm playing for the Padres. I'm playing with Tony Gwynn. I got this. Next thing you know, I'm back in the minor leagues. Next thing you know, I'm in Japan for 2 years. Next thing you know, I come back, and I'm grinding to get back. And now I get back with the Braves, and I'm there for my 3rd year in the major leagues. And I'm like, I'm back. Then I found out I'm a type 1 diabetic in the middle of the season. And I missed about 2 months. I was pitching with it for 6 weeks. I didn't know my blood sugar was at 850. I can't even remember how old I was. I think I was 31 years old at the time. 30? So I'm 30 years old. This doesn't happen to 30-year-old professional athletes. Why am I getting this, right? So it was really weird. Had to figure that part out. And then went back to Japan, came back. I was standing on the mound. Nobody was going to sign me. My agent quit working for me. So I emailed every GM, every agent in the major leagues because I knew I could still pitch in the big leagues. One team gave me an offer, and it was the Mets. They sent me to the minor leagues. The next year, I'm up in the major leagues. Opening day, Bartolo Colon was starting, and I got on the mound. And I'm 37 years old, and it's a 2-1 game in the 9th on ESPN in front of 60,000. And I actually looked around for the first time in 21 years where I looked around, because at that point I'm on borrowed time, and I was like, this is really, really, really cool. Like, I look, like, there's sold out. And I got my first major league save at 37 years old on opening day on ESPN on a 4 o'clock game in front of 60,000 people. The reason I say that, my preparation for games in my 30s and my 20s was completely different. I think my faith got a lot better in my 30s. Honestly, Chris Tomlin probably got me through, I would say, God's Great Dance Floor got me through about my last 7 years of baseball, because I would listen to God's Great Dance Floor right before I would go out on the field, and I would feel this weight taken off of me, because I realized, like, I'm not in control of this. I worked as hard as I can. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But you know what? I'm going to play free. And when I could play free, my body would relax. I'd pick up a few ticks on my fastball. Everything would be a little crisper, because I wasn't so tightly wound and so stressed out. Because the rest of my career, I was like, my career was like this. If I pitched poorly that day, the next day I'm gone. That was my life forever. But when I finally took that off, and I'm like, you know what? I can only control what I can control. Life became a lot easier. So my preparation of those days before the game, a lot of it was that I would listen to Chris Tomlin, and I would pray that, hey, just let my play and everything just benefit you. And I can't control anything that's going to happen. I've already done all the work. I've already done all the work. I can't work any harder than I already have. And what's going to happen is going to happen. And so when the game's over, are you mad if you gave up 6 runs in the second inning? Of course you are. You're not happy about it. But at the end of the day, I did my best. That's what happens when you play against the best players in the world. Sometimes they hit the ball really hard. I'll say one thing though, really fast. I'm sorry. But 2 things for your age, and I promise you, in professional baseball, because we guys are just, you'd be surprised, we sign guys at 16 for Latin American countries. But the 2 things you guys can really, really focus on that are the easiest things are nutrition. This is going to sound silly, I promise you. Nutrition and sleep. Nutrition and sleep can really change your lives. Like, you have to sleep. You have to get more than, like, if you're going to go to school all day and you're going to practice at 7 o'clock, you're going to throw it all out here. You'd bet at your age probably get 9 hours of sleep minimum. And your nutrition is paramount. Nutrition and sleep are the 2, and I say this to 24-year-olds, it's crazy, because their nutrition and sleep habits are so poor. But they start changing that and their career really takes off. But even for your test taking, for school, for everything, I promise nutrition and sleep can really change a lot of things for you guys. Like, how did I get to the major leagues? Well, I was drafted by the Cincinnati Reds in high school, and then I went to their rookie league, played there. Then I got traded to the Padres, and I climbed the levels, and luckily I pitched well at each level. And then they brought me up to the major leagues in 21. But then I was sent back down, and then I went back to the minor leagues, like I said, 25 different times, where I was called back up. So I had people call me a bad penny. They're like, you're like a bad penny, and you just keep showing up. Like, how are you still around? And I thought that was probably one of the biggest compliments I ever got. Because they're like, I thought you were done playing like 10 years ago. How are you still here? Because my last game I played, I was 38, so it ended up being 21 years.
So, we see like our age, they're like doing crazy things, like dunking or whatever. How do you go about like not comparing yourself to others? You know, just access social media and stuff like that. And it's hard not to compare.
That's probably that's honestly, if Jessica was here, my wife would be, she could talk to you for about 3 hours on this subject right here. Because she also teaches your guys' age too. She's a high school teacher at Rouse. But her biggest thing is the comparison game, right? Like, comparison is the thief of all joy. We've heard that before. It really is. When you start comparing yourself to others, I think you start to set limitations on yourself. Don't set personal limitations on yourself, and don't let anybody else put limitations on you. Like, we've all seen teams warm up, and you're like, and you see the team down there, and you see the team down here, and you're like, people in the stands are like, oh boy, what's about to happen? But then we've all been there too, where we see these 2 teams. This team's dunking, this team can't even touch the net. and then the ball drops, and this team gets some breaks off of this team. We've seen it a million times. I'm not saying that's always going to happen, but the comparison game, it's easy for me to do too when I was playing, right? Like I'm not good at doing that like that guy's doing. But what are you good at? Find out what you're good at and really thrive on that. And I know it's easier said than done, especially for your age. I did not grow up in your guys' era. I think we can all speak for this. Like I have no idea what it feels like to go on social media and see all the things that you guys see, and you guys are privy to the knowledge of literally everything that's happening in the world at every single second. I think my brain would have exploded. But just be really careful about what your eyes watch. Is that fair? Like you see people that you're gonna play against, like what's the purpose? Like what's the reason that you would even be going on their social media account? Like why? For you, like what would be the reason?
It's just fun. Like you see like NBA players.
You see that, yeah.
Or like maybe you see a skill that they do.
That's fair there, for sure. But be careful not going on there and saying, like, especially if you're watching people you're playing against or your peers, being like, hey, that's something that they're doing that I'm never going to be capable of doing. One thing I can tell you, it's also the preparation stuff. Be really, really, really careful with your self-talk. Self-talk is everything. The self-talk, what do you tell yourself when you're about to shoot a free throw? What do you tell yourself before the game? Are you saying, well, I better not miss this, I better not miss this, or it's like, or this is something for the coaches too. I heard this from Nick Saban. This is a big one, right? You could yell from this. My biggest pet peeve is when someone says, make your layup. It's like, well, no kidding. Well, was I trying to miss? Or make your free throw. You're like, really? Like, who's trying to miss their free throw, right? It's annoying. Your parents probably say it. And it drives me crazy. Like, there's nobody's trying to miss. It's like when I'm pitching and somebody's like, throw a strike. I'm like, hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Like, you know what I mean? It's really dumb. Nick Saban would not let his coaches ever say anything like, don't hold. Instead, if he's going to instruct that, if I'm instructing you and you missed your layup, I would not go up to you and say, hey, make your layup. And you're like, thanks, coach. I would be like, hey, next time you're going for the layup, make sure you take a little gather step, maybe a little jump stop, slow yourself down so you don't keep all your momentum. And when I finish with my layup, I do not want to finish out of bounds. If I finish my layup on a fast break, I'm out of control if I know that I finished out of bounds. So the next time I shoot my layup and I finish, my feet and everything are going to land in bounds. Because you know when you go really fast and shoot your layup and you get out of bounds, you're probably going too fast. Or, hey, next time you have a free throw, hey, I want you to take a deep breath. Just get a little more into your legs next time, okay? Stuff like that. Instead of, I got to make this. Next time you go up to the free throw line, be like, hey, I'm going to make sure, deep breath. Make sure I get into my legs. I'm gonna make it. If you don't make it, you don't make it. But not saying, oh my God, it's a 1-point game. 25 seconds ago, I gotta make this free throw. It's not gonna work. That's what the best athletes are able to do. They get to the line. They have this routine, breath, get in my legs, Okay. I used to say when I was pitching, hey, 2 strikes here. I gotta get this ball above the belt. Get it above the belt. Get it above the belt. I wouldn't tell myself, don't miss below the belt. Don't miss below the belt. Don't miss below the belt because he's gonna. You know what I mean? So tell yourself what you're going to do. Positive self-talk with everything you do. And that's not just for sports, man. That's for life. Because, like, what do you guys tell yourselves? Those thoughts that get into your head, they play a much bigger role in what your body actually does than you actually realize. So your positive self-talk, like everything you're telling yourself, keep it positive. Even if it's in a... Actually, I'm not even going to say that. You don't have to keep it positive, but is it fair you can keep it neutral? Let's aim for neutral, all right? Because sometimes it's hard to be like the positive all the time, but you don't have to be negative. You can keep it neutral. So neutral is your negative. You don't go any farther than neutral, all right? And then the rest of it, be careful what you're telling yourself, okay? All the time. Like you could be sitting on the bench, it's like you missed a shot. You could be thinking, honestly on the bench going, I missed a shot. That's what coach is not putting me out. I missed that shot. And there might be truthful. There might be a chance that coach honestly forgot you were there for like 2 minutes. It had nothing to do with that shot, and you're stewing that you think you're on the bench because you missed that shot. It's probably not the reason. Or maybe somebody went out there that normally doesn't play, and they're having a really good 2 minutes. Why make a change? So don't make it so self-inflicted, because typically it's not as serious as you think it is. Yeah.
Is there like any habits that formulates the player or something?
Yeah, baseball's kind of it's one of the craziest sports of all time as far as like habit forming. We talk a lot about routines. Routines are so important, right? Like for our pitchers, we set the routines. Like we help them set the routines every single day. Like, okay, I get to the field, I'm going to do my rollouts on my hips and all my body parts. I'm going to do my activation. I'm going to do this. So it is really habit forming, but there's a fine line between superstition and routine, where sometimes you laugh at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I saw a video of this kicker, and like he was doing like all sorts of things, like this anime version. He was super nervous, and like, or like people say, oh, you have to do this every single time, or like it's just superstition because it's not really good.
100%. So that's where it's like we talk about this all the time. But there's a fine line between routine and superstition because, okay, this is the stuff I normally do in the day I pitch, and there's this, and then I go outside and this. Well, what happens if you go outside and there's a rain delay? Now, do you have to do it exactly the same, or are you going to be so messed up in the head that you can't pitch because there was a rain delay? Or the bus breaks down and you get to the field an hour and a half late? Are you going to is your brain going to malfunction because you can't do all the stuff that you normally do? So it is like you have to be careful not to intersect those two. I would say the biggest habit for me though, and I know this is super cliche, I wasn't the most talented pitcher, but my off-season work I was never gonna be outworked by anybody in the off-season. And what's really funny is I played basketball 4 to 5 times a week for 20 off seasons, and nobody else really did. And I can't tell my players to now because they probably get hurt, break their ankles. But that's probably why I was able to pitch so long, because there was nobody in better shape. Because we all know what basketball shape is. I don't have to tell you guys, if you like once you get into season, you're like, I haven't played basketball in like 3 months, and that first 2 practices you're about to die. Yeah. So, but the habits that formed were mostly just being thankful, honestly, for like just being able to do what I was able to do. Like, just don't forget to be thankful for what you get to do. You know what I mean? It's a pretty broad question, and it probably wasn't the best answer, but yeah, last one.
What helped you learn the discipline in sports?
That's a good question. I think the way I was raised helped me be. So I got drafted at 18, and I literally moved, not playing professional baseball. I lived in an apartment in Princeton, West Virginia, and we're traveling on buses. But I think my childhood was a little bit different than others, where my parents got divorced. I moved back with my dad, and my dad wasn't the most overly responsible person, so I lived in an apartment with him. And he actually wouldn't even know, like, I'd be like, hey dad, the rent's due, and he'd have to give me money, and I would literally walk to the grocery store to get a money order to take to the front desk to give the people rent for the apartment and for electric bill and that kind of stuff. So I think do I think that's the greatest thing for a 16-year-old to be doing? No. But do I think that helped me be ready to be a professional baseball player? Yes. So I think that part of it, the way I was raised, really helped me in that aspect. As far as the discipline goes, that's a tough question. One, when I'm younger, I wanted the lifestyle. I was like, I'm in the big leagues. We get to ride on a bus. We go on the tarmac. I don't go through the airport. I get right on the bus. We don't have to go through security. They do now, but it's like they give you a little wand when you go outside. But no airport. You get on the plane. They're giving you Chick-fil-A. They're giving you whatever you want. You have your own row. It's amazing. And then it starts to change a little bit. Like, that's not what what's your why is the big one, right? My why then, when I was in my 20s, early 20s, was I want to live this life. But then I got married, and then I had a baby, and then I was like, oh crap, my why has changed a lot. I need to make as much money as I can to provide for my family. And then honestly, finding out I was diabetic at 30 was crazy. I'm like, why have I found out I was a type 1 diabetic? So now I'm in the bullpen checking my blood sugar between every inning. I have to make sure I keep it at 180. I don't know if you've been around any diabetics or played with any diabetics. Is anybody diabetic here? No? So you know what I'm talking about. So now I'm checking my blood sugar. It's way better now. I mean, I have a sensor on now. I can look at my phone. I mean, it wasn't like that when I first got it. And so that became my new why in my 30s, because I was astonished. I would go, once I got called up to the big leagues, I would tell the radio or the TV broadcaster for the visiting team, the home team, hey, when I take the mound tonight, can you please tell everybody that I'm a type 1 diabetic? Because the next day, I would get so many parents and kids, like during batting practice, screaming and like, they just found out their child's diabetic and they thought it was a death sentence. And I'm like, no, you're fine. That became my new why. That became my new why to have this discipline, to work as hard as I possibly can, because I wanted to be, and actually the proudest moment I have is Topps came out with the baseball set of cards that would, people that played with certain things, like there was a deaf player, there was Jim Abbott, you guys know, had one arm, there was cancer survivors, and I got to be part of that set, and that was really, really, really cool. So I'm still, that's probably the proudest thing I have, but that became my new why with my discipline. But what's your why for what you're doing? Like when you come to practice, like what's your why? If you don't have a why, it's really hard to get to. Like I'm going to the gym to work out. Everything happens when no one's looking, especially in our world, right? Like the best players in the world aren't getting better when everybody's watching. They're literally, I'd say 99% of my training, there was nobody looking. So what's your why to push, how can you push yourself in that moment where nobody's looking? Like, I don't like LeBron James, I'll tell you that right now. But what he is doing as an athlete is absolutely incredible. Do you know how much work that takes and how much discipline, eating, nutrition, how much work he's putting in? Nobody sees that. They just want to talk about, I'm not going to talk bad about him. To work that hard, to be his age and look like he does and still play 20, I know he's hurt right now, but like playing 25 to 35 minutes in the NBA is astonishing. But all that's happening when nobody's looking. So if you don't have a why to push yourself when no one's looking, you're going to be like, you got 4 sets of blah, blah, blah. I'm like, 2.5. What are you going to do? It's like, it's really easy, right? To be like, yeah. But if you have that why, you're like, no, boom, pumping out that 4 set, right? Or you're in here running ladders by yourself and you know you need to do like 16 up and backs. And you get to 12, you're like, nobody's looking, right? It's really, really easy to shut it down in those situations. But professional athletes, 99% of that work, they're in there. And I guarantee the elite of the elite never cut it short when they're by themselves. But if they don't have that why, it's really hard. Pretty much everybody I ever played against. Yeah. I was never scared of anybody. I take that back. I was scared of one batter. So, funny story, I did face Barry Bonds when he was 2 away from the all-time record. So I had to start, I'm watching this. You guys might even be too young for this. This is like kind of taking myself seriously, but Barry Bonds basically broke Hank Aaron's record, right? And so he was at this mark of all-time home runs. And we could see the number going up. And I know that we played him in 2 weeks. And I know that he's like 6 away. And I know I'm starting in San Francisco. And I'm like, please, gosh, don't make me be the starting pitcher on the day that he's going to break Hank Aaron's record. Because it's going to be it's going to be the biggest story for the month. And so we got there, and he actually was 2 away that day. And he didn't hit any homers. I think he hit like 4 deep fly balls, whatever. But the only player I was ever scared to face, and this was like for my personal safety, was, and you see him now, but Giancarlo Stanton, when he was with the Marlins early on, he was hitting balls so hard. I've never seen anything like it. But a lot of guys hit like balls hard and high, but he was hitting balls like this high off the ground, really hard. And all I could think about, and I shouldn't think this, and I'm almost embarrassed to tell you this, but I was like, go ahead and take a double, just don't hit it off my face. Like, he's the only guy I ever thought that. Anybody else, I really was never scared to face anybody. And everybody's like, who's the best player ever faced? Who's the best player ever faced? I was never scared to face anybody if I knew what I had taken care of was in the right spot. If I knew my stuff was good, and I had worked hard and it feels good, I felt healthy, I was never scared. If I knew I was a little unprepared, it didn't matter if I was facing the worst guy in the minor leagues, I was scared. So I was never scared when I was prepared, and I knew my body was in the best shape possible, my arm felt good, everything was in a good spot. I was 100% always scared when I knew something was off. So the more I prepared, the less scared I was. Now, were the results always great? No. But I was never Yeah, that's a great question. And we deal with that with a lot of our guys. One of the hardest things for our guys, they have to go to, when they get hurt, they have to go to Florida sometimes. When they have TJ on their elbows, and you're talking 14 to 16 months that it takes for them to get back from that. I can honestly say that I was pretty fortunate never to have like anything that's besides being diabetic, which cost me like 3 or 4 months, but I didn't have any like huge injuries that set me completely back. But I wish I could bring somebody in to have a better conversation with you. What'd you do? Oh wow, gotcha. I know it's hard to watch people do what you like to do, right? Like that's the worst. But I think what do you think the most you can do is right now? Yeah? But you can do that to the best of your ability, right? Yeah. Of course. So right now, just put a really high focus on doing whatever you can do physically to the best of your complete ability. And then when you're out here, like, I know this is going to sound really corny, but just being the best cheerleader you can ever be, right? I know it's hard, but like being the best teammate, being the best cheerleader you can ever be, and whatever you can do physically right now, whether right now maybe you can do one-legged squats, or you know what I'm saying? That you can do stuff, just do it to the best of your ability. Because you can't do more, and I know it's hard, but that's really the best advice I can give you. Like right now, your upper body should probably end up being the strongest it's ever been in its entire life, right? Like crush it. Come back and be a monster with your upper body. I know you can't do much with that side, but you have 85% of your body you can kind of make stronger.
How did you not like fluctuating down?
Like my fluctuating talent, or yeah, that doesn't really come into in professional baseball. It doesn't really come into play. But I do think facing like the number 9 hitter in the minor leagues, if I let my guard down and be like the number 9 hitter in the minor leagues, like he's probably going to get me, and then I'm going to be kind of embarrassed. So you have to practice in your head. I use this example a lot too. So you go to like a AAA team, and the guy that you're scared of, the number 4 hole hitter, he gets called up. You guys get called up. The day before, you're like, oh my gosh, it's the 4 hole hitter for the whatever team, whatever Round Rock Express. He's got 36 home runs in AAA, and you're like, oh my god, okay, I got to really focus. But then all of a sudden, the next day, you both get called up. This has happened, and now he's in the lineup for the team you're facing in the major leagues. You know what you can't wait? You know who the person you can't wait to face is? That guy. Because he's hit number 9, and you're like, well, I can't wait to face that guy. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense, because literally the day before, I'm like, I gotta be careful of this guy. But now he's like the weakest guy in the whole lineup. So it's weird how that happens. So you have to train yourself to don't ever, like they've said this before, don't play down in competition. Like, if you have a team that you should beat by 40, go out there and get a 30-point lead in the first quarter and come with everything. Because how you start training yourself, you can't turn that on and off. All of a sudden the team's good the next day that you're playing. You can't just turn on what you were playing like the day before because you knew you guys were going to win. So literally train yourselves to beat the brakes off of that team. I know at some point you're going to take off the pressure or whatever, but in the first quarter, if you should be up 30-0, be up 30-0. And then your coaches are going to make adjustments, and I know stuff like that because we're not trying to defeat anybody's soul, but you know what? Sometimes in the first quarter, you can still step on them. That's what I say, when teams are down, you need to step on them. And then when it's time to be like, okay, we can second half. But it's still competition. First half, my gosh, you got to play. Second half, you can let them have it. You can feel good about themselves. But at least for the first half. And when you go in there, because I'm sure at some point your coaches are going to sub, but when you go in there, it can't happen. But you can't turn that back on. That's not a switch that works. That switch never works in competition. You can't be like, hey, I'm facing this team today, I'm going to play at this level. It doesn't work. I'm playing at an elite level. My elite level doesn't mean it's elite NBA level, but my elite level every single time I take the floor. Every single time I practice.
How about one last question, and then we'll let Mr.
I
Carlisle.
just got you on a complete practice. Your time is over.
Oh, it's a long night here. We stay here a long time.
Yeah.
Anyone got more questions?
Is this even about social media?
No. I don't like that. How do you go day by day and like to overcome like a plateau? Like for example, in your off-season, what do you do if you keep like, pitching the same way, like you're not getting as fast, like you start to plateau, your progress stagnates?
That's a really good question because it's going to happen in your weight training. It's going to happen in your vertical jump. It's going to happen in your speed. It's going to happen in my fastball. But I would change the way I trained a lot. So if you're going to keep doing the same things, you're going to plateau at a different level. When I was 32, I started throwing. This is when it was now it's common, but back then it wasn't. I went on this off-season weighted ball program that I've never done in my life. And actually from the ages of 33 to 37, I threw harder than I did from the ages of 27 to 32. So I would say now it's not anything, but like my average fastball went from like 91.5 to like 93.1. And I was getting older when that was happening. So you have to mix up what you're doing. That's a big thing. Because if you just keep going in and I'm gonna go do bench, you're gonna plateau and you're gonna stop. So let's do bench with dumbbells. Let's do incline bench. Let's do decline bench. Let's do other stuff. Don't just keep benching. Do a different form to train the same muscles in a different way. Does that make sense? But that's a really, really high level question, and that's very accurate because the plateau does happen, and it happens for elite athletes too. But mixing up your training methods is the biggest way to get over the plateaus. Because if you keep training the exact same way, you're going to hit a wall. It's just you can't go any farther. So mix up what you're doing.
All right, guys, let's give Mr. Carlisle a round of applause. I don't know if he's